Hey, this is Tony with Midwest Family. We're at the Children's Miracle Network Radiothon. We've been here for 2 days and it's been going great. Thank you so much to everyone that's been donating, but we need to keep those phone lines ringing. Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations, they're taking over the phones right now, and we need to keep them busy for the next few hours because, well, that just shows that we're getting a lot of money in for this wonderful cause. The CMN is a wonderful thing. It helps out families, it helps out kids, and all the money stays local. Now, if you can't call in, you can also text in CMN Kids to 51555. That's CMN Kids to 51555. That might be the way that you want to do it. Or you can go to aroundrivercity.com and you can make a donation there as well to get to just be a part of this wonderful thing that we've got going on here at Gunderson Health Systems. We're in the Miracle Room, we're in the Team Marine Services family interview area, and we have the Peterson family with us here, and we're excited to talk to you guys. We've got Stephanie and Patrick, and of course Mackenzie. And Mackenzie is 16 years old, and you guys are from Holman, and of course Liam couldn't be here today. He's at school. But Brother Connor is here, and Connor's going to be helping on the phone lines today, which is awesome. And welcome to the CMN Radiothon.
Thanks for having us.
You guys have Mackenzie, who is dealing with, she was born with lissencephaly, epilepsy, and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Now, most people have a general understanding of epilepsy to a certain degree, but can you explain Mackenzie's conditions so everyone can understand them?
Sure. Lissencephaly is a pretty rare genetic disorder. It can be passed on and inherited, or it can just be a genetic fluke. And in Mackenzie's case, it is a genetic fluke. We are not carriers in any way of the disorder. So I think it's 1 in every 75,000 births, they told us. So she got some good odds there, I guess. So yeah, lissencephaly, it kind of presents similar to severe cerebral palsy. It can be called smooth brain syndrome, where if you look at a picture of a brain, normally it looks kind of like a cloud. And Mackenzie has spots in her brain where it's like a cloud and then it gets smooth, and then it's like a cloud and then it gets smooth, and has something to do with how the neurons migrate out during pregnancy, from what we understand. So depending on how much of the brain is smooth, it will vary how much the person is impacted by it. So Mackenzie is kind of in the middle of the road, where I'd say about like half of her brain has the smooth brain syndrome, and the things she can or can't do are kind of dictated by what parts of her brain are affected by it. But that certainly never stopped her from trying to accomplish anything that we try to help her do. So she's kind of just writing her own book with that. As far as the epilepsy and the Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, the epilepsy is very common of someone with a neurological brain disorder. The brain is abnormal, so epilepsy is a very common thing to deal with. Lennox-Gastaut syndrome is a very specific form of epilepsy, also known as uncontrolled epilepsy. So Mackenzie has tried probably every medication in the book since she was about 6 months old. She's currently on 4 different seizure medications, some larger doses than others. She was on the ketogenic diet for 6 years, which was really helpful for her. Definitely had huge improvements during that, and the effects of that diet are permanent for the most part, even though she's off the diet. And now she has a vagus nerve stimulator, which also helps interrupt seizure messages to the brain. So since she's had the keto diet and now the vagus nerve stimulator, her epilepsy is much better controlled. She's probably maybe having 1 or 2 small seizures a day that are less than 10 seconds that don't seem to really impact her much, versus she was pretty much having seizure activity all day long, just very twitchy. So we're just so happy to see her being alert and learning and growing now that her seizures are more under control. Now she's going to cough, but she's just clearing her throat.
So reading it on Mackenzie, she had a lot of gastrointestinal issues, and is that part of the Lennox-Gastaut syndrome? Is that?
No, her gastrointestinal issues are more Mackenzie did eat table food, and we had to feed it to her because she has limited use of her hands. But she did eat table food till she was about 3.
Yeah, about
3 and a half.
Yeah.
And then once they grow to that point where the distance between where they swallow and their, tube that the food goes down gets so great and they can't control their swallow very well anymore, then she started aspirating on her food and getting a lot of pneumonias. So then it was time for her to get a feeding tube. So she didn't seem to be too bothered by not eating table food anymore. If anything, I think she probably felt a lot better because she was getting so sick from eating it, and she would aspirate and throw up all the food we were feeding her. So she's really thrived since she got the feeding tube, and it really doesn't seem to bother her any.
And were her conditions, is this something that was pre-birth determined, or is this something that occurred after birth?
No, what was it, 8 months in?
Well, she was 5 months old when she was diagnosed, but I mean, this was happening long before she was born, and we didn't know about it. It's not something that an ultrasound would pick up. Obviously our older son is very typical, so we had no reason to believe anything would be different with Mackenzie. But yeah, about 5 months old, she had her first seizure, and that was when they started running some tests to see what was going on, and an MRI found her brain abnormality.
Well, one thing I read about, you were kind of told, and you kind of said it as well, she would write her own book. Is that something that a doctor said to you, or support said to you? And what did that mean to you when you heard that?
Yeah, last thing you want to do is kind of look up what kind of the impacts are, and it's such a wide range of these kids. So you're kind of doom and gloom on one end, and Mackenzie's kind of doing what she wants to do and not really following the script that we were kind of told.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember it was, I think it was Dr. Yadley, the genetics doctor, who told us that because her disorder is so rare, and like Pat was saying, it has a spectrum. I mean, it can be kids who don't live past a few months of age because they are so impacted by it, or it can be kids going on to lead a fairly normal life because it impacts them so little. And she just said it's really up to Mackenzie on how far she goes, and don't set limits on her, and just let her do what she wants to do. So yes, they were the ones who told us she'd write her own book, and that is for sure. I feel like we're just kind of along for the ride a lot of the time.
Well, sometimes you do just have to kind of roll with the way things are,
Definitely.
and just try to deal with them the best you can. Now, you didn't also just stay locally here in La Crosse. I see you had to make some trips to Madison as well. How did that? How did your family deal with that?
It depends. Like, I think when we first started going to Madison, it was because she needed to be on the ketogenic diet, and they weren't doing that up here. And just day trips down there, really not a huge deal. We have, my parents are around here, and they help out extensively, and obviously older brother was old enough to help out with little brother. The challenge comes in when, they end up having to stay down there for a hospital stay. Mackenzie did go down there to have just a simple procedure done, fairly simple, just moving her G-tube and stuff before she went on the keto diet. And unfortunately, she got sepsis after that surgery, just a very random thing that happened, and she ended up being down there in the intensive care for 9 weeks on ventilator, kidney dialysis, basically any organ that could failed. So we were down there for 9 long weeks, and that was probably the biggest challenge I think we've ever dealt with, it was pretty touch and go for about the first 4 or 5 weeks. It was a long time, and we were both down there with her that whole time, and my parents pretty much just moved into our house and took care of our boys. But then after she started to show signs of improvement, then we started switching off. My husband would go home for a week, I'd stay, and then we'd flip-flop on Saturday, and I'd go home and he'd stay. And then finally she did come home, and it just felt so good to all be back under the same roof again. But yeah, I mean, my parents would come down on the weekends with the boys and let us spend some time with them and take them to places in Madison. But it's definitely very challenging. Just normal appointments are okay, but it does, take a whole day out of our work day to go down there. You use a lot of vacation time to go down there, spend a lot of gas money, buy a lot of meals. So it is a lot, but, it's worth it for the care that you get down there and the specialists, because it definitely has changed her life, the care that she's gotten.
Well, yeah, and the Children's Miracle Network is a great resource for families, and a great way to help you out with things that some people don't think about, gas cards. I know there's special camps that kids can go to and stuff like that. And with that, I want to thank our Miracle Room sponsor, Ultra Federal Credit Union. Thank our sponsors, Stanek Electric and Mark Jewelers. The Miracle Maker sponsor, Oral Surgery Clinic out of La Crosse. And a shout out today to Quick Trip, Sam's Club, Festival Foods. They've been bringing in snacks and keeping people well fed. And then Big Boar Barbecue, of course, is donating lunch today. Again, Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations is on the phones over there. They need to be a little loud. Yeah, there we go. They need to be a little louder. And of course, Connor's helping them out as well, so they got some family help there as well. So, what are some of the things that CMN has helped your family with?
Let's see. Well, obviously, you're hearing from everyone about the meal vouchers, so we've probably used more than our fair share of those with stays at Gunderson. But especially, they've helped us a lot with the visits to Madison. When we know there's a surgery coming up and we're going to be going back and forth a lot, they've helped us out with gas cards and gift cards that we can use for hotel stays. We found it very beneficial to have just get a hotel room and switch off nights at the hotel, so at least one of us is going on a good night of sleep. So that's been super helpful. Money for food while we're there. Probably the biggest thing they helped us out was the bathroom remodel in our old house when we lived in a more 70s house a while back ago, and the bathroom was not usable for Mackenzie at all. So we had to convert it to a roll-in shower. And we did have that funded. The county helped us out with it, but we ran into a little bit of a snafu that the shower was not going to be big enough to accommodate the shower chair.
Oh, no.
So at the last minute, we had to order a brand new shower, and it was several $1,000s more expensive than we had budgeted. So we reached out to CMN, and within just a day or two, they approved it. We got it ordered, got it installed, so our bathroom wasn't out of commission for longer than it needed to be. And just that was such a huge help that, when we find out we're going to have to put more money into this than we thought we were, for them to step in and help us out, that was really huge.
I think that's a big thing that sometimes people don't see is the extra things that you have to do for your home and for vehicle transport and stuff like that to help your family just, get from place to place to get to those appointments and everything. Now, at one point, I read that Mackenzie, she was in a full body cast for a while. And Patrick, you want to expand on what that was all about?
Yeah, she had hip surgery, so kind of a full legs to her pelvis, chest, about chest, mid-chest, somewhere in there. Cast for, how long was that?
I think it was 8 weeks total, but she was in the hospital for like 2 of those weeks.
Yeah.
So we had her home for 6 weeks. Yeah, chest to toes, legs spread out. Had to carry her like flat, like a pancake, like a pizza. Yeah. And I think I was like 8 months pregnant with Liam at the time, so I just kind of balanced her on the bump when I carried her around. She had to lay in a special wheelchair. It was a flat wheelchair, and it was so old and so heavy to get that thing around. But she was so happy that whole time. We were worried that she would be unhappy because she couldn't really move much. She couldn't do a lot of the things she liked to do, but she just laid in that flat chair and smiled.
She was able to get through another challenge you guys were able to get through, and that's what's so wonderful when you hear that part of the story. And I think that gives other families some hope when they're having the tough times, when things feel like it's a little too much. I think your story is a great thing to share so that other families, they can hear that and know you can get past that stuff. And we talk about you have other kids, and that can be a challenge too, that you have to take a lot of time to take care of Mackenzie, and then you've also got a balance of your other kids having events and things going on in their life. What challenges are there to balancing that all out?
Well, yeah, I think especially when we're gone for extended period of time, yes, you do miss sporting events or different school-related events that they may have to do. It's tough because you feel bad, like you're giving her priority over their life, but they're pretty good. They love their sister, so they understand. It's never been really a problem.
Yeah, I know. Connor was always very good about it and just understood. He was 4 when Kenzie was born, and they were always just like this. They get along real well. Our younger son was 4 when he was born, and I think he's just now kind of starting to understand what Kenzie's all about. She was just always kind of there. So he maybe took it a little harder when we would miss things for Kenzie because he just didn't quite understand like his older brother did. But, they do seem to just kind of roll with it in stride. And not even just that, I think, people say it takes a village, but, we have so many good friends and other families at our kids' schools that would step in and give them a ride if we were out of town, or, if we were posting on Facebook that we were in the hospital, they were sending us messages saying, do you need us to take your kids to basketball practice, or can we pick them up and bring them here? And just even those little things mean so much to the people just step up and offer, and you don't have to ask.
Yeah, that's great when you've got people that are willing to support you without having to ask for it or feel like you're imposing on them. They want to help you guys out, which is wonderful. You guys have some wonderful family and friends that way. Mackenzie, now she's pretty active. What are some things she does like to do with the family?
Well, we usually go camping a lot. We have an RV that my husband put a lot of time and effort into making sure it's as accessible for Mackenzie as it can be. Got a custom lift to get her in and out of it. So we're really blessed and lucky to have that because it's just such a fun thing we can do as a family and with our friends that enjoy camping too, and bring our dogs along, and we can get all our supplies in there. And So, I mean, that's one of her favorite things to do. I would say she does love to travel, and we try to travel as much as we can. It's not always easy with her, but we make it work. But at home, I mean, she has a pool that we got from Make-A-Wish. She loves to swim, and when she was granted a wish, we weren't sure what to do, and actually it was Connor's idea to get a heated swimming pool for her, and she just loves being in the pool, and it's something that we as a family can do, and friends from the neighborhood will come over, and it brings them closer to her to see her in the pool swimming like other kids. She just loves to go for walks and get out and do things. Pretty much anywhere we go, she wants to be, and I think that's been hard with COVID these last year and a half. She has spent a lot of time in the house to keep her safe, so we're glad that she's still getting to go to school and that they've got good precautions in place there, because otherwise she really doesn't go many places, and I think that's frustrating for her.
And that can be tough for everyone, the whole family feeling that way, I'm sure. Just where can we go? Where is it safe to go? Where do we feel comfortable going? It's been tough this last couple of years. It's got to be even harder on you guys to figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand Mackenzie has a favorite singer.
Yes.
And she's a big fan of a certain singer. Who would that be?
Kenzie does love Taylor Swift music. Pretty much any time we put it on, she loves it. And we did for her 13th birthday before COVID came. I got her to a Taylor Swift concert in Minneapolis, and she absolutely loved it. She was not afraid of the noise, loved the lights, was just going crazy. So I'm hoping concerts come back again and we can get her to one again, because she really had a good time doing that.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad I got to meet you guys and talk to you today, and I'm glad you're sharing your story so other families can feel like they're not alone. The Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations team over there on the phone lines, they're a little busy. They need to be busier, so make sure that you're calling them up. Otherwise, you can text in to CMN Kids at 51555. Just put in your text, CMN Kids. Text it to 51555, and you can do a donation that way. Also, you can donate online at aroundrivercity.com. The Peterson family, Mackenzie, Patrick and Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being here. And we really appreciate you coming and just sharing. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So once again, I'm Tony, and this is the Children's Miracle Network Radiothon with Midwest Family.